Could you just real quickly help everybody understand, like, when you say non-negotiable, like that there are different types of boundaries?
Yes, there are different types of boundaries. The idea that boundaries aren't just one thing, right? Boundaries
Right.
are complex, and they should reflect the complexity probably of the relationship system as well. So some examples are non-negotiable boundaries, right? Just things you are not going to live with. You're not going to be okay with them today or tomorrow or yesterday. But then there's emotional boundaries, right? There's physical boundaries. There's sexual boundaries. There's financial boundaries, social boundaries. And I think that you can break these down into a million different things. But examples of things like, you know, when I say don't touch me, I mean don't touch me, right? My words matter, right? Those kind of things, right? Emotional boundaries of when I'm having a hard time that you'll be supportive. They can be positive boundaries, like that second one was a positive, like clear of what you need someone to do. And they can also be negative of don't do this. Right. And those are different. And I think I do so much boundary work that I'll often talk to clients because they're here because of boundaries were violated. And so let's organize your boundaries. Let's clarify them. And let's also very much identify how those boundaries reflect what you need right now, because boundaries are fluid. They are moving and changing. Non-negotiables, those are the ones that are probably more pretty still, right?
Yeah.
Solid.
And I think for that reason, non-negotiable boundaries, when it comes to out of all the boundary categories, non-negotiable boundaries are the most difficult to face because for the person who's setting them.
Yes.
Because the consequences usually are a lot steeper.
Right.
If they are violated, because we know that the boundaries really only work well if the beholder of those boundaries is willing to follow through with the consequences for violation, right? So, if there's an emotional boundary that's crossed or a social boundary that's crossed or all the other ones, like the non-negotiables, when those are crossed, like the consequences just typically are greater and
significant.
Right. They're much more significant and the risk of loss is kind of much more in your face.
It's embedded in probably that boundary. Usually those non-negotiables are pretty big or even often pretty extreme. Right. I don't hang around people that emotionally, physically assault me. Right.
But yeah, I think determining, what type of boundary was crossed here. And usually it's probably, if it's warranting forgiveness, it's probably non-negotiable. Is my guess.
Or close to it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that a sexual boundary that gets crossed wouldn't warrant this, but if it does, it's probably a sexual bound. It's probably both a sexual boundary and a non-negotiable. Like it is not okay for you to cross this line in a very big way.